Good Wednesday morning. It is July 29th. I want to thank you for joining us here on the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Let's jump into our headlines, what we're going to cover for you today. We have storms that absolutely slammed Hampton Roads last night. Parts of the area with severe weather reported. We'll have some storm updates to let you know what we found, and it was a pretty exciting night. There was a water spout that was photographed. We'll share some of those pictures coming up, some wind reports, some other damages across the area. And not only was it bad here, but there were problems up and down the East Coast. We've got a report kind of on what's happened nationally as well. We'll pass along, as well as the upcoming severe weather outlook. I will tell you, for Hampton Roads, we're in much better shape going forward, but there are some parts of the country that will still need to stay weather aware. We'll break that down. In addition, we're tracking tropical activity. You know we do that through the hurricane season here. The Atlantic Basin still looks pretty good, but there's some stuff going on in the Eastern Pacific we want to talk about. We'll update you on Fausto, that system that was passing very close but just north of Hawaii. We'll let you know about that. And we're going to have a live interview coming up. I think it's a great topic, an important topic. If you are a pet owner, there's some important things you can do before and then what to do during storms with your pets. There are some precautions you need to take. You know, we've seen these hurricanes come through parts of the country and the impacts obviously on human life, but it can take a real toll on pets as well if you're not prepared. So we're going to talk to you about what you can do when tropical systems threaten. In addition, we've got an update on the Japanese earthquake that occurred yesterday, and it is not good. The information coming out does include an update on fatalities and injuries. We're getting more information from Japan on that big earthquake, 7.1. That was the Richter scale measurement on that. So tough situation there, and now some very bad news there. I'll look ahead to the weekend. That will brighten your spirits if you live here in the Mid-Atlantic. We've got a lot of sunshine upcoming into the early part of the weekend. What happens after that? I'll explain as we go along. Let's start off, though, with a look at how things are right now. This is a live Thompson Creek Window Company sky view. You can see there's still some clouds out there. It's actually still pretty humid as well. Dew points this morning in the low 70s, but this picture is so much more serene than what we were dealing with last evening. Let's take this full. I'm actually going to step over to the weather pod where I can stop and kind of manipulate this radar, and I just want to show you again as it loops through. Right now, we're in great shape, but that was not the case last night around 9:04. I'm going to zoom in and show you this cell right here. This is the cell right here that we had the tornado warning issued on for portions of Norfolk, and it rolled off to the east-southeast. This area right here, as it moved along a little earlier, if we would have picked it up just before this first frame here, right at 9 o'clock, this only goes back 12 hours. But you can see how it moved across Naval Station Norfolk, that cell with kind of that little kind of tip or a little bit of a hook on it. But anyway, this little area right in here then moved across the ocean view section. There was some wind damage in that area. I'll pull over and just let you know. As it was moving along here, you can see around 9:14. Now, I actually got out to the bayfront area in the East Ocean View section, East Beach specifically, right here along the bay. This is where I was last night reporting with our storm coverage, and I was there about this time, 9:18. I was trying to get out ahead of where this circulation was and provide some live images. I was out there live with my camera, and I was able to send these images back to our control room, and we actually put them on the air. But honestly, as I was out there, the winds kicked up. There's a period of heavy rain right there at 9:21. You can see that, but no water spout at that point, no tornado. The winds did really pick up. I was in a somewhat wind-protected area. I didn't put myself like out on the beach to feel the fullest brunt of it. But from a safety standpoint, I can tell you the winds were whipping. We did not have any damage in the East Ocean View section there. The system then moved along across the Chicks Beach area and then over along Shore Drive, and eventually it did clear the coast. Heavy rain there through 941 around Fort Story, and then it continued to roll on out. So we are in much better shape now, but this was not the case. As we pull back out, I'll jump back over to the maps and show you some of the storm reports that we got from last night. So we'll zoom in, and again, these storm reports go back, but initially that tornado or funnel and water spout was reported out here over the water, and it was spotted from Hilton Village. We had some folks also identifying this from the Suffolk side and even in Norfolk. So I believe we've got some of the pictures we can show you. Take a look at some of the storm damage from last night. This is video of a tree that came down in Norfolk off Bellevue Avenue, and again, we'll show you that storm report coming up. We know some cars were impacted, but thankfully the house was spared. A reminder to stay away from trees that fall near power lines, as those lines could still be active. And take a look at this. This is that water spout we were talking about. This came from viewer Jesse V. Bass. Sent this photo in last night to our newsroom showing that water spout. Bass says they were at Tidewater Community College campus in Suffolk when they spotted it. So again, the report I showed you came from the Hilton Village area in Newport News, but it was also visible from Suffolk out there over the water. Really just an amazing picture. We also got this photo, another picture of it, who said they saw the water spout from Port Norfolk. You can see it off in the distance there. Really cool images. Fortunately, again, nobody injured or hurt with this particular water spout, but they can be dangerous, and whenever you take pictures of something like that, you have to make sure you're in a safe location. I will say, when I went out to try to catch up to this thing and you know, see what was out there, I did have two safe places I could get to if there was a funnel and if it was bearing down on my exact location. It's always important whenever I storm chase, I always know what the threat is, where it's coming from, and where I'm going to go if things get a lot worse. Had a 48-mile-per-hour gust reported from the marine, from Raleigh Terrace, rather, that marine thunderstorm wind associated with that cell that the warning was issued on. You see the trees down there. We had that report that we just showed you from Bellevue Avenue in West Ocean View. And again, the tree did fall into a cable line, couple of unoccupied vehicles. Fortunately, again, no one was injured with that. Then we had some big winds reported. Knott's Island with a gust of 45 miles per hour, but down around Oregon Inlet farther to the south, we had a wind gust of 59 miles per hour. So this was a serious situation for our area. Again, some powerful winds, a little bit of tree damage, and again, that water spout, fortunately, no injuries. Now, we were not alone. There were issues up and down. Look at all the storm reports through the Northeast and back down through the Carolinas into North Georgia as well. Parts of the Northeast have been dealing with the aftermath of the severe weather, including the heavy rain and flash flooding. Reed Binion reports.
It just got dark and windy. It rained so bad that you couldn't even see out your window.
Communities across the Northeast slammed with violent storms Tuesday.
I just hunkered down. My dog is very scared of the thunder.
Some parts of the region were forecast to possibly get more than a month's worth of rain through the night. Flash flood watches were in effect for tens of millions of people, from Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey, as well as parts of New England, down to Maryland, where street flooding in Baltimore was bad enough to leave cars partially submerged. The high water got so bad in some areas that crews had to carry out rescues, including in the town of Coalport, Pennsylvania, where 3 people and 2 dogs had to be rescued from a home. The destructive weather pushed further south, too, with storms powerful enough to send a massive tree crashing into this house in the Washington, D.C. area. The storm threat stretched even farther south into the Carolinas, where the rain was so heavy in Charlotte that it completely obscured the skyline for a time. Elsewhere in the state, a City of Asheville public meeting was put on hold for a tornado warning and evacuation. It comes as communities in the Midwest are still reeling from storms that struck earlier in the week. The National Weather Service confirming that at least 4 tornadoes hit the Chicago area Monday. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
All right, so what's next? Well, for these areas, the Northeast, the central part of the Atlantic coast and mid-Atlantic. We're in good shape today. Chicago also still in better shape after those powerful storms. So good news there. But we've got two areas that we are watching with a slight risk. One is here in Florida. You can see Jacksonville up across southern Georgia as well. You can see up through Albany and back towards Tallahassee. Brunswick, Georgia, also under that slight risk. So we'll be watching that. Primary concerns there, wind and hail here across portions of eastern Montana into North and South Dakota. All right, we're going to turn our attention from the severe weather outlook here across the country to the hurricane season, because hurricane season is here, and experts say many families still forget one critical part of their emergency plan: their pets. Coming up, we're going to hear from an expert about how you can prepare before the next storm hits. The latest update on the tropics coming up. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. You know, the hurricane season is here. We're going to track the tropics for you now, and we'll start off, as we always do, in the Atlantic Basin, because Norfolk here, obviously, we need to watch the Atlantic. This is the part of the world where we're most concerned, the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of America, however you want to refer to it. Looking quiet right now. You can see across the Caribbean, things also very quiet. Looking across the main development region, the Atlantic Basin, really not much going on. So this is all good news for us, as the Hurricane Center does not anticipate or expect any development, tropical cyclone development, in the next week. I will tell you, sea surface temperatures in the Gulf and across the Caribbean, plenty warm. So we'll continue to monitor, but so far so good. We do have some areas that we'll continue to monitor, but it doesn't look like anything is really setting up right now. Over in the East Pacific, though, different story. We've got two systems. One is pretty much done. The other one is still rolling along pretty healthy. Genevieve here is a Category 3 hurricane. Here's the 5 a.m. update, the latest one to come from the Hurricane Center. It is forecast to weaken, though, as it moves over cooler water, eventually becoming a tropical storm and then a remnant low as we head through the back half of the weekend. Now, this is all that's left of Fausto, and it really did fall apart recently. So you can see a little bit of higher cloud tops, some colder cloud tops there for a while, but that's pretty much gone now. Just a low-level circulation that is really just a tropical depression at this point. 5 a.m. update calling for further weakening. It will be a remnant low within the next 24 hours. So Hawaii really spared from that one. They did get some larger waves coming off of this as it was still winding down. but the winds, not an issue, and the rain, not an issue. So good news for Hawaii. Now, the hurricane season's here, obviously. We've been talking about the looks in the Atlantic Basin and here in the Pacific. We do want to talk about an important part of your emergency plan. With these systems, again, always a threat during hurricane season, and other things like tornadoes, wildfires becoming more frequent, emergency responders say planning ahead can make all the difference. And that includes making sure you have a plan for your pets, who are often forgotten when storms hit. Joining us now is Kitty Block, President and CEO of Humane World for Animals. Thank you for joining us, Kitty. I really appreciate it. Let's talk right away about some of the biggest mistakes pet owners make before or maybe during a storm or other emergencies.
Well, Humane World for Animals really focuses on ending animal cruelty and suffering. And one of the ways we do this is through disaster work, helping people get prepared and helping people when the disaster hits. And so we see all sorts of situations, flooding, hurricanes. I heard you talking a lot about that. And what it is making sure that you have an evacuation plan with your animals, making sure you know where you can go to evacuate, where you can take your animals, hotels that will take animals, where you have then also develop a kit that has medicines in there and leashes and a few days worth of dog and cat food. Know that you have these things on hand, because in the middle of a disaster, that is no time that you can try to search for these things.
Kitty, you know, we learn a lot every time, you know, one of these tragedies or a weather crisis develops. And I think back to Hurricane Katrina and the Gulf Coast. There were really, it was a pet and animal crisis following that. You know, we all saw the human impacts, but we learned a lot that folks really don't always plan for their animals. Now, you had mentioned this is something that is a vital part of the emergency plan, and you mentioned a kit. What types of things should be included in a pet disaster kit?
Well, you mentioned Katrina, that was really the first part that we developed and honed our global team of deployment and expertise. What we saw in Katrina was that this was not just a situation to come in and help pets. It was to come in and help people who love their pets. And we saw people staying in harm's way. We saw people not evacuating. And so we know the work we do helps the people too. And in the middle of a disaster, when they may lose their home, gone, to be able to keep their families with them. So having that disaster kit ahead of time helps us do our work later. So have medicine, have any food for a number of days, vaccination, ID tags, make sure you have any crates or carriers that you may need. Because again, in the middle of a disaster, you don't want to be looking for these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kitty, I'll mention here locally in Norfolk, Virginia, I know following those lessons that we saw from Katrina, the local emergency managers really started to focus on making sure there were evacuation shelters and places that could include pets, and they really started planning around that. What would be the last thought that you'd want to leave our viewers with, just overall with your pets and preparedness for these storms? Any last message?
Be prepared. Take the measures you can. That's so important. And we know that your pets are your family members. So do what you need to do to care for them. And we are going to be there to help during disaster situations to help.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. That's Kitty Block, President and CEO of Humane World for Animals. All right. We're going to take another break. And coming up, we've got a really devastating update coming from Japan following that 7.1 magnitude earthquake. New details about rescue operations. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. We talked a lot about the earthquake that hit Japan. So tough to see and get the stories coming out of this. I was just looking and I was wondering if we just got a couple of newer earthquakes kind of showing up. Again, these are much smaller than the large one that hit this area just off to the northwest, but I'd imagine this was a more recent aftershock there. The big one, 7.1. That was the magnitude, and we talked a lot about this yesterday. The earthquake in Japan that shook, again, this is a southern island, and it is now confirmed to be fatal. Officials say at least 20 people have died and dozens of others are injured or still missing after part of a shopping center and a paper factory collapsed. ABC's Hannah Battah has a closer look at the rescue efforts.
This morning, a frantic race against time in southern Japan after Tuesday's powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake. Some 300,000 people told to evacuate because of aftershocks. Crews digging through the rubble, searching for the missing. This aerial view shows the force of the quake, ripping a massive crack through this rice field. An explosion tearing through the shopping mall in video obtained by broadcaster NHK. The blast possibly triggered by a gas leak after the quake collapsed part of the second floor. Terrified shoppers taking cover as the intense shaking scattered merchandise in this store. Security cameras rolling inside this newsroom. Workers ducking for cover under their desks. At this paper mill, a collapsed chimney burying workers. 9 were still missing overnight. Part of this bridge giving way into the river below. This train knocked onto its side. Tens of thousands are without power. Homes pancaked, rescuers picking through what's left. Other buildings are still burning, smoke billowing into the air. Hannah Battah, ABC News, New York.
All right, we're taking a live look outside. The sunshine coming back after severe storms overnight. I'll have the forecast for Hampton Roads in just 2 minutes. Want to update you on the weekend. We've had some pretty heavy news this morning. Let's get to some good news as we look forward to the next few days. Sunshine, and then Saturday's beautiful. There will be a chance for showers later Sunday, but I think much of the weekend's going to be really pleasant. Now, as we take a look at our rain chances after Friday and Saturday, we do have that 40% chance Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So some more hit and miss showers. Not that that's going to be a total washout, but there's that chance for some unsettled weather into next week. If you're going to the beach today, what a day you're going to have. UV index very high. Rip current threat is low. Our water temperature around 75. We've been up closer to 80, but those storms kind of churn things up a little bit. We may have a little bit of upwelling in some areas. Temperatures, air temperatures in the lower to mid 80s today. Out on the water, the winds were a little breezy this morning. It should settle out later on, going from 15 to 5 knots. Those wind gusts dying down. Waves in the bay settling, in the seas 2 to 3 feet. All right, here's a look at the conditions out there. We are clear now. I will mention there is a slight risk of a couple of stray showers down to the south this evening, but get ready for more sunshine after that. The 7-day forecast looks great for Hampton Roads. So we'll enjoy mostly sunny skies today, tomorrow, and Friday. Saturday, a few more clouds late, and then those chances for showers. I hope you enjoyed the Weather Desk this morning. Again, we do it each and every morning at 9 o'clock. We'll see you next time.